Welcome to PR Like a Boss, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of PR with industry leaders, brand founders, and the masterminds behind the biggest media wins. I'm your host, Patz, and today I have a guest who is basically beauty PR royalty. She's a PR and brand building expert specializing in beauty and wellness, a content creator, a beauty insider, co-founder of the incredible charity Beauty Banks, and one half of the iconic Beauty Hags duo. She's worked with some of the biggest brands in the industry and has an eye for what makes a brand pop. If there's anyone who knows how to cut through the noise and get people talking, it's Jo Jones. Jo, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I thought you should have just stopped at basic, actually.
Oh, stop it.
I was like, oh, that would have probably just about covered it. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
It's an honour to have you on the show, Jo. Okay, so let's take it back to the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You've been at the forefront of beauty PR for absolutely years. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learnt along the way?
I think I carry on learning the whole time, and I think that's what sort of propels me, and it makes me still interested and love what I do. I'm completely driven by relevancy. I want to create work that's relevant. I want to be relevant in myself as a person and as a human being. And I learn. I learn all the time. I want to know what's coming up next in tech. I want to know what's coming up next in trends. I'm completely driven by knowledge, and so I feel that does fuel me and always has done since the very beginning. But I think where I found my feet in PR and brand building is because I think I'm quite a good storyteller, and I think that's what PRs are. And if you're a good storyteller, if you can spin a good story, then it could be the right career for you. And it just so happened that I landed in this, which was quite by accident, I have to say.
Do you know what? I think a lot of PRs have that by accident moment. I got into PR by accident as well. It's
We don't
I
really
don't
know
think
what
it
it
was
is,
a
do you?
career in the day that people opted to get into from the get-go.
No, definitely not. So yeah, I guess, for me, the lesson is not to rest on your laurels. Yeah, it's just to keep learning. And I think that another big lesson for me is not to just look at what everyone else is doing. I can't stand that. I hate looking at what other people are doing. I'm interested in what other people are doing, but I don't let it drive what I do. And I encourage brands to do the same. If a brand fixates on what their competitors are doing or getting or landing or having, then they don't spend enough time focusing on themselves and what they should be doing and where they should be going. Everyone's goals are very different. Yes, we want to sell stuff. We want, our end goal is to sell more of the product or service, but the goals in between are different, and that your values are different to other businesses. So I think by focusing on what you want and where you want to get to is more important than looking over your shoulder at what your competitors are doing and what they're getting.
Yeah, and it can also feel overwhelming at the same time, like always constantly checking what the others are doing.
Set your own goals, set your own standards, set your own targets of what you want to achieve, and aim for those. Don't be looking over your shoulder the whole time, because actually sometimes we can copy or repeat what someone else has done, even though we don't realize that we have, because it's gone into one part of our subconscious. I've had ideas before where I've got, oh my God, I've got this brilliant idea. And someone said, didn't so-and-so do that 2 months ago? And I'm like, no. And I realized they did, and I knew about it, but it had sat in the recess of my brain somewhere. So if you do get consumed by looking at what everyone else is doing, then you will end up repeating the idea in some form, even without realizing it. And you want to keep your ideas fresh. You want to keep your brand, you want it to stand out. And to stand out, it can't be a Me Too brand. It has to be a you brand. It has to be about you. So, or it has to be about your values, your goals, where you're going. So, bit of a long-winded way of saying it, but I do find a lot of particularly in beauty PR, it can tend to follow a format,
Mm,
a dinner. I
mm,
mean, I love a dinner as much as the next person, but if I see another feed with a nice setting of dinner, table, whatever, it's like, but what's the story?
mm,
What's the dinner for? What's the story? Not what's the product, what's the story?
mhm. Good
Because
point.
we live in stories, we communicate with stories, we tell stories since we were little, we get fed stories since we're little. And I don't want to know the functions of a hairdryer. I want to know how it fits into my story,
Mhm,
why I need it in my story. And I think PRs need to think a little bit more like marketeers now than they
mm,
used to. Um, and I feel like there's still too much, a little bit of the speaking to the same people, do it in the same way, sending everyone the same press release. But no, you can have different press releases for different titles or with different headlines.
mm,
Just got to think a little bit more cleverly. And as I said, a little bit more like a storyteller. And stories all have arcs, right?
mhm,
So stories, and my husband's a storyteller. So he writes books, he writes everything. And he often not teaches me because I don't like to. I'm sure there's not much he can teach. I am older. No, but he often will discuss the arc of a story, and I find that really interesting.
mm,
It's like, okay, who's the hero? The hero is always the consumer. Where do they want to get to? What troubles do they have along the way? What friction points? How can your product or service solve those friction points and get them to the happy ending? Think more like that, and you'll be a much more successful PR that gets a lot more cut through than doing the tried and tested things that have been done forever and that used to work, but don't necessarily work as well anymore.
Oh, yeah. Look, I mean, this kind of takes me perfectly into my next question. I mean, I feel like there's this constant evolution in PR, and especially with social media, like constantly shaking things up. So we're constantly having to reevaluate
Mhm.
our methods really and our storytelling. If you were starting out today, would your approach be different?
Well, it would have to be
Mm,
because those sort of things don't exist anymore.
mm.
But a lot of that stuff is good. I'm glad it doesn't. There used to be. I remember that editors were gifted Chanel handbags and holidays
Oh,
and all
yeah,
of these things, and
I remember.
it's often referred to as the good old days or the heyday, but actually, is that truly authentic? I don't know. I'm not saying that, you know, that people didn't weren't great at what they did, and it was just we consumed media in a very different way, and there is still a place for magazines and newspapers and all of those kind of stuff. But I was looking on Elle the other day. Elle have got something like 2.5 million followers on their Facebook group.
Mm,
That's powerful.
mm,
And they're still telling the same stories in the same way, but they have to do it across multiple platforms. So we have to work across multiple platforms. And I think that's interesting. I'm someone that doesn't like things to stay the same.
mm,
I hate same, same, same. I can't stand it. I get mad. I get bored. I don't take the same route. If I have to, my daughter goes to gymnastics 5 times a week. It's it's a curse, but also a blessing because she's very active and very annoying. So gets her out of the house for a bit. But if I have to take 6, 7 different routes home, some of them are longer than other routes. If I take the same route home every day, I just want to curl up. I need that constant stimulation of the new, and that's why I'm always seeking it out through knowledge, through I do things like crafting and drawing and
mm,
painting and all this kind of stuff. I need that fuel. That's what gives me the fuel.
mhm,
So you don't have to be everywhere, and that's what I say to brands a lot. You don't. Yes, there is TikTok. Yes, there is Pinterest. Yes, there is I don't know, Blue Sky now. You don't have to be everywhere, especially if you're a small brand, but you have to be where your customer is. So
mhm.
find out where your customer is and double down on being there.
Yeah, and do it really well.
Yeah, go narrow, go deep,
Mm.
and don't try and speak to everyone. When brands say, "Oh, we're for everyone," you're
Oh, that drives me
not.
mad.
But also, if you try to be for everyone, then you're for no one. If you very intelligently understand who your customer is, and you can do that by tracking who's buying your stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm working with a tanning brand at the moment called Vita Liberata, who are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we did, and the owner, the CEO, sold the brand. She just bought it back from the investment company. It's an incredible story. Anyway, we were looking at the website data. It was very
Mm-hmm.
clear the women, because it is largely women, they're buying the product are over the age of 35. So stop trying to speak to, not that they were, but it's like, okay, let's use a more grown up voice. Let's make sure that we are going out and meeting her where she is. And she isn't at the
Mm-hmm.
moment um, on TikTok. Or if she is, and she's getting there, maybe, it might not be something we need to focus on for another couple of years. At the
Mm-hmm.
moment, she's on Instagram. So let's go there with a view to her, that she will eventually go to TikTok, and you just grow them at different speeds. But you need to be completely, whatever brand you are, whether you're big, small, medium sized, one person, or thousands, your whole focus should be on your customer. It shouldn't be like it used to be, circling back to the question initially asked. It used to be all about the editor and the person that was telling your story for you. But now you get to tell your story yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And how empowering is that? You shouldn't see it as a
Yeah.
negative. It's a
Yeah.
positive. And what I also say about social media when people are really, going heavily on it in terms of, oh, there's so many channels, blah, blah, blah. They are also free.
Mm-hmm.
They are a free platform. Yes, you can boost and advertise and all of that stuff. And yes, it is hard to grow on those channels, but you can still grow if you create good and compelling content for the right audience, and they're free. You could
Mm-hmm.
just set up an Instagram and go and start posting, and you decide what's going on there. You decide what message you want to tell. You decide what language you want to use. So start seeing the positives in it and not being overwhelmed by it. And as I say, go narrow, go deep, choose your channels based on where your audience is, and tell your stories.
I love that.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think is the secret sauce for getting a brand's story to really resonate with journalists, influencers, and even customers?
It's all about the customer. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about the journalist or the editor. It's about the customer. Once you know what the customer response to, what she's interested in. I say she because we are the greater force in the world, but it
100%.
could be he. But I will always refer to as a she. Um, Once you understand where she is,
Mm-hmm.
and if she is reading a newspaper or a magazine, that newspaper will also want to connect with her because they're creating content for her. So then you just create a story. You're not creating stories that connect with a journalist. You're creating stories that connect with a journalist's reader
Mm-hmm.
or an influencer's follower, not them personally. Yeah, of course, there's their personal take on that storytelling, and their way of communicating that. But ultimately, your focus should always be your customer. If you are just focused on getting the attention of a journalist, they could wear Chanel all day from top to toe. But if their reader if they're at the Daily Mail, their reader is not wearing Chanel from top to toe every day. You're not appealing to them and what their
Mm-hmm.
tastes are, you're appealing to who their reader is. So you must always look at it through that lens. This is why your reader will be interested. This is why your follower will be interested. Not this is what, and that is why then, in turn, they will be interested.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
That makes
It does
perfect
in my
sense.
mind.
No, 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 it does. Um, Now, I know you love a bold and creative campaign. I mean, look, who doesn't? But how do you strike the right balance between creativity and making sure the message doesn't get lost?
Simple. You have to simplify everything.
Mm.
At yes, it's true that people's attention spans have got shorter, or maybe they always have been, I don't know,
Oh, no, mine
but
definitely has become shorter.
challenging.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and there's a lot of, you know, it's the attention economy, right? Everyone's fighting for your attention and everywhere. Um, Not just an ad or a marketing message in a magazine or on the tube or wherever, but it's on the back of the ticket that you've just bought for the bus, on your Oyster card
Mm.
cover. It's everywhere. Go to watch sport, it's everywhere. It's behind the bloody toilets in places now.
Oh,
There's
goodness,
some
it
when you
is,
sit
isn't it?
down, you're like, oh, there's a marketing something there they want me to buy.
Yeah.
Um, but you need to simplify it. And it's going back to the storytelling thing. It's the hero of the story is your customer. What problems can you solve for them? What friction do they have that you want to solve? How can you make their lives easier, happier, whatever it is? Maybe that's because they want better skin, or they want a hairdryer that doesn't sound really loud, and so that they can sneak out of the house without waking their kids up in the morning on the way to work. I don't know.
Hmm.
But what problem are you solving for them, and how are you going to solve it? And simplify it. That doesn't mean dumbing it down. It means making it easily to process. And I do find a lot of brands fall into the trap of using too much language, trying to communicate too many messages,
Yeah.
when actually it should be distilled into one clean, clear, and easy to understand message, or you've lost that person's attention. I
Mm.
think just simplify, keep it simple, keep it, but you can still keep it elegant and intelligent, but keep it simple, and don't try and communicate too many things at once. What's your main message? What do you want to get across? And how are people going to understand it really, really quickly? And that's what you need to do. You can be, there's a client that I'm working with, a big, massive global company, and they're French, the French side of their business had created, it's a skincare brand, and one of their brands is a skincare brand. And it's all about, it's an amazing product, and it's a SOS product that you get out when when you've overdone your skin a bit, you've
Oh,
overcooked
yeah.
it with too many actives, or you've had a treatment that's a bit too harsh and you're starting to
Hmm.
get pilling or whatever it is. And it's a really good product. And the French team had created a press release that's a box, and you have to smash it like a smash emergency, take the product out situation.
Hmm.
And these boxes were like 100 quid each.
Oof.
And you think, oh my God, that's so creative. But these boxes are 100 quid each. And what is the person going to do with this waste after
Mm.
this is finished? They can't reuse it.
Uh,
And so it just ended up getting on people's nerves. Whereas if you get a well crafted story, I think I crafted a story around giving your skin a staycation,
hmm.
right? So overwhelmed skin, overworked skin, overtreated skin. It's all about the story. It doesn't have to come in a suitcase for
Hmm.
people to get it.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. The story wins if the story's relevant, targeted, speaks to the customer, speaks to where they're consuming their content. Don't overdo it. Brands that don't have big marketing budgets, which are most brands, I mean, even big brands now tell you they don't have much budget.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be creative, but you've got to be creative in a strategic way.
Hmm.
This whole that's creative, it's not strategic, and it's expensive, and it's
Hmm.
not going to work.
Well, it's a gimmick, isn't it?
Hmm.
So less is more, really. A little bit like my skincare, to
Targeted.
be honest now.
Yeah. I mean, we all say that, and then we get this new thing, and we're like, oh, that looks good. Just throw that in.
Let's get into some rapid fire advice for smaller
Okay.
brands. Okay. So, those who don't have the big agency budgets, but
Hmm.
still want to get noticed and make a splash.
Hmm.
So, first up, what's your top tip for a small brand trying to break into press?
I would follow the press on Instagram.
Hmm.
Right. So if you want to get into the Daily Mail, find out who the writers are in the Daily Mail that writes the pieces where you think you should be.
Hmm.
Don't blanket stuff by just sending to everyone in the Daily Mail. Find the right journalist.
Hmm.
Follow them on social media. Most of them are public. Most of them are trying to grow their own social media profiles as well.
Hmm.
Um, Follow them, see what they're interested in, what they're writing about, and engage. Don't
Hmm.
stalk, engage. That can start with, that was great. Thanks for that. What a great piece of content. I love this. Thank you so much for posting this. Engage in their lives if they do lives. They will notice that you're
Hmm.
engaging. I know that I've got some followers, but I know the ones that respond. I know the most loyal, not loyal, that's not the right word, but the most engaged ones, because I hear from them a lot, and they're always really lovely and respectful, and it makes them stand out.
Hmm.
So by doing that as well, by really engaging with their social media, which may have nothing to do with their day job, but it will get you to know who they are and, what they like, and get them to connect with you, and then reach out to them. Don't just go in cold. Make sure you're informed. really understand the sort of stuff that they write about and they're interested in. And by doing that, but as I say, don't stalk.
Yeah, we don't
You
like
know, and
stalkers.
don't like the one thing that is quite that I find quite off-putting as well with a content creator hat on, if you want to connect with content creators, is by all means DM them and
Mm.
ask if you can send them a product that you think they will be interested because of XXX,
Mm-hmm.
but don't ask them to post about it.
Oh
That I
no,
find, but that happens a lot.
I know, I
It
know.
happens a lot. So I'll get an email that says a message that says, "Oh, we love your content, and then and would love to send you this, and if you can share with your audience, that would be great." And it's
Yeah,
like
big
you don't
no-no.
need to add that bit because if it is good and if it
You
is
will.
relevant to me, I will
Mhm.
because I need stuff to post about because I'm posting 3 times a week at the moment. So
Mm.
give me this one woman wrote to me and sent me such a great message on Instagram. And she, during COVID, she'd started her own small brand called No Other Scrubber, and it's a foot scrubber thing that takes off all the hard skin off your feet and all that kind of stuff. But and then it just disintegrates into nothing. It's amazing and it
Oh.
works. And she sent it to me, and I loved it, and I posted about it, and she got sales, which is amazing.
Mm.
And then Sam Chapman, who's my friend, saw it and was like, "I'm going to buy one of those." And I was like, "Oh, she'll send you one." She was like, "No, I'm buying it." And we're both like that, it's small business, small, but you can get cut through. Right.
Yeah.
So now Sam Chapman is posting and she's got over 1 million followers, way more than I have. But you can cut through. You just have to be targeted and you have to be respectful and you have to let the product stand for itself. You
Mhm.
don't need to ask them to post about it. If they like it, they use it and they will post about it. Don't ask because it's not going to happen.
It's just rude though.
I think, I just think a lot of people don't realize that, because their product is their currency. They don't have marketing budgets to pay. But you just need to part that bit because actually PR is transactional.
Mhm.
It is not, you're not paying for it, right? So your product is your currency, but it also is your bargaining chip, but you're not giving them money to
Yeah.
post about it or for an editor to write about it. So PR has always been about earned coverage. It is
Yeah.
earned, you earn it, and you earn it by having a great product.
Definitely. Definitely. Next on.
Mhm.
Are press releases dead or
No,
do they still have a place in modern PR?
they're the most important thing
Mm.
because they're your story, right? That's your storyboard. That is your hook. Your hook and your press release is the most important thing in the
Mhm.
whole of your PR campaign because nobody picks up the bloody phone anymore. Like when thank God, I hate the phone. But when I started in PR, I had to pick up the phone and pitch stuff to people, and I wasn't pitching it to nice beauty journalists.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
pitching it to news desks at the Mirror and the Times, and it was awful. And they would just put the phone down on you within 2 seconds. You had to get and this is why the things haven't changed. I mean, we're
Mm.
going back like 25 years, 26 years, and I would have to pick up the phone and get out what the hook was within 30 seconds. And if I hadn't got it out in 30 seconds, they just used to put the phone down on you
Yeah.
or just used to say no, and then no thanks. If you were lucky, you got a no thanks. So actually, things haven't changed really. It's
Mm.
just that the editors are now the consumers. You can get to them directly through Instagram and social. So
Mhm.
the press release is by no means dead. But what is dead is not using it in the correct way. 2 pages is too long.
Yeah.
Just wanging on about yourself the whole time, it's just not going to get you where you need to get. It's again, who's the customer? Who's the reader? Why is it important to them? Why is it relevant to them? Why is it timely? It's no good
Mm.
speaking about something in December when it's, yours is a summer product. It's got to be
Mm.
timely. It's got to be relevant. But yeah, it's the most important thing. Your hook is the most important thing. Your hook is your title. And as I say at the beginning, when I said, like, you can change your press release, doesn't have to be the same press release for every single person. You
Mhm.
can have one press release that you change the headline for different outlets, depending on who their reader is.
Yeah, that's top tip. If you could recommend just one budget-friendly PR tool, what would it be?
Mm, Probably Grammarly,
Oh, okay.
because if you are not if you have spelling mistakes or grammatical errors in your press release, it will go in the bin.
Mm.
It makes you look unbelievably slapdash,
Mm.
not professional, and it just reflects very badly on you.
Mm.
And a writer, a journalist, they know what an Oxford comma is. They know, they know the difference between a colon and a semicolon.
Hmm.
And sometimes, especially if you're on your own and it's just you or you're a small team, you can look over a press release for ages and not see an error because you've worked on it really hard and it's become, a labour of love. And you might not notice that you've put complimentary with an E and it should be an I. And
Mm.
maybe a third party, if they read over it, don't notice it either, but Grammarly will pick it up.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to throw out some hypothetical PR dilemmas your way, and I want to
Okay.
hear your expert fix, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A journalist goes to your pitch. What now?
Oh, what? A journalist? What? Say that again?
Ghost. A journalist
Oh,
ghosts
ghosts.
your
I thought you
pitch.
said
What now?
goes. Goes. Move on. Find someone else.
That's it. Just move
Move
on.
on. Jog on. There are enough people to speak to. There are enough. And I get ghosted. Of course I do. They're getting 250. You may have the best story at the right time that's relevant, exactly right for their customers. But you know what? They've got other news that's going on. They've got the pages filled for the next couple of weeks. They don't need to think about it. Sometimes the timing might be off. Don't
Mm.
be despondent. Just move on.
An influencer misrepresents your product. How do you respond?
It's a tricky one
Mm.
because it's already done.
Yeah.
I think the only thing to do is to protect what might happen if they were to cover it again.
Mm.
So in that instance, I would go to them, thank them profusely for taking the time and energy to cover your product or to write about it, just to let them know that it shouldn't be used like this, it should be used like that, or whatever it is, in a very polite way. Um, and then just saying thank you again, and then just highlighting what it is
Mm-hmm.
that's been misrepresented. Might be the price. It might. I posted something about Philip Kingsley products, and I'd said that you had to use a product on dry hair, and you don't have to use it on wet hair.
Mm.
And I've always used it on dry hair. And they just said to me, "We loved what you did. Thank you so much." Because don't forget, they're not paid.
Yes.
And it takes. I don't think it wasn't until I started creating content that I fully understood what goes into creating content.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the idea, it's the lighting, it's the sound, it's um
The
the
time.
editing, the caption, the
Mm.
all of it. And I've got such a respect for influencers because it's such a lot of work.
Mm.
So just remember that, and remember that they don't get paid to do it. Some of them do by people, but they're not getting paid to do your thing, right?
Mm.
And if you do want to make sure everything is 100% as you want it, you have to pay for it. It's like an ad.
Yes.
It's like an ad in a magazine or a
Yeah,
newspaper, whatever.
definitely.
But don't stress. The most important thing is don't stress. It
Mm.
happens. It happens to the best of us. You can do all of the right things, tick all of the right boxes, give all the right information, and it still get misrepresented. That is PR, I'm
Yeah,
afraid.
it
It
is.
is.
You've planned a big product launch, but a huge competitor drops their own campaign on the same day. How do you pivot, or do you even pivot?
No, you can't. Like, if that, you just have to maybe go a bit more micro than what you
Mm.
would have done. So if they're suddenly throwing loads of budget at lots of big editors, big influencers, just be so tactical. Go out and find. I've just started working for Babyliss, a brand that I've worked with for years. There's a girl that, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. Got amazing hair, and she's got 2,500 followers. Got more engagement from her post than we have from some of the big hitters. So go a bit more micro. Um, and you'll find that as long as if you look for people that have got high engagement, and usually people who've got around 1,000 followers have got the highest level of engagement than anyone on Instagram, 1,000 being the sweet spot. So
Yeah.
find some people with some high engagement. They'll be really excited to come to your event and to be asked, because perhaps they don't get invited to events because they've got 3,500 followers, but they just, if you're a hair brand and all they do is hair stuff, and they're right, so just go a bit micro. Don't panic. Don't throw the baby out of the bathwater. Don't catastrophize. Just go and work out how you can slightly pivot, but not go too much in the other direction. Don't despair. Again, that happens to all of us as well. It's happened to everyone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've lost count of the amount of times it's happened to me.
Mhm.
um, you're pitching to a journalist who's notoriously hard to impress. How do you grab their attention?
I mean, it's just read all their stuff. Like, be prepared. Go in, read the last couple of months of the things that they have written and talked about, so that you know, and you're not pitching something to them that they wrote about 3 weeks ago. That's rude. I think people don't read your. If someone's pitching to you and they haven't read any of your content, or watched any of your content, or they haven't read anything that you've written, of course that you're going to be even harder to impress them. So be informed, and have your pitch arranged before you talk to them or you try and connect with them. Have everything in order. They will respect you if you are clear, that you are targeted, that you know that they're the right person for your message, and you've read their stuff. So
Yes.
important. The amount of people, Sally Hughes is a friend of mine. We've worked together. We're friends, but we also work together. And every year she writes about Glastonbury, does a column on Glastonbury every year. And she also has to write some of her stuff 6 weeks in advance. With something like Glastonbury, she might write it 4 weeks in advance. So target her at the right time. Don't target her after the week before the story's already come out, because you've
Yeah.
already written about it. She's not going to listen to you.
No, of course not.
Because it's rude. Why
Yeah.
should they do something for you if you're not properly targeted?
Preparation is key.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it for them. Just read the stuff that they write about. It's going to help you in the long run, isn't it?
Well, it's
I
a
would never,
no-brainer.
ever, I would never approach a journalist and pitch a story idea to them if I hadn't read 2 or 3 things that they hadn't written very recently. So easy. It's all out. It's not easy, hard to find. Most of it's online now.
That's true. Your brand is struggling to grow on social media. Are there any PR strategies that can help amplify visibility?
As I mentioned earlier, going micro,
Yep.
looking for really high engagement is always so good. And then you can gift your products. You don't necessarily need to do an event or to, spend money. You can do. I think that's a really good way of strategically growing, leaning into other audiences, but collaborating with other brands and leaning into their audience. So like-minded brands. So say, for instance, if you are a skincare brand, is there, I don't know, and you've got a summer product, can you lean into the audience of a swimwear brand and create either a mailer together where you have your product and their product going out together, or you do a social media giveaway together? So that's always a good way of growing. Being really consistent with your own content, I think, is really important. If you're really consistent and you post on at the same time with stories, then you'll get much better growth. Like, I've noticed with myself that I've created 3 different. What's made it easy for me to create content and to get into the flow of it is that I post 3 times a week and they all have a theme to them. So there's like my 3 favorite things. What else is it? One brand and my 3 favorite products from that brand. And then the other thing will be alive. Right? So I know I've got those 3 things that I do. And the more consistent you are, so people know when to anticipate when you're going to post and what you're posting, the more likely you are to grow. But as I say, leaning into other people's audiences, borrowing their audiences so you can reach new audiences, and micro influencers, and also being really consistent and timely with your social, and asking people what they want from you.
Yeah.
What do they want? What sort of content do they want? What do they want to see you do next? And, don't, even if you've got a small amount of followers, everyone has to start somewhere.
Yes.
And the reason most people don't grow on social is because they give up.
Yeah, it's time consuming, isn't it? So there's a lot of effort that needs to be put in to nurture that community and engage with others as well. You can be posting all you like, but if you're not engaging on other people's social channels and actually responding to comments and DMs, then of course you're not going to grow.
Yeah. And the thing is as well with Instagram, particularly what people don't realize is that the algorithm is also driven, and your place in it, by how much you DM people and how much you comment on other people's social. It's not just how often you post and what you post. Everything has a tick against it that helps you. So the more that you engage with, even though it is consuming, it is very, very helpful to your place in the algorithm. So it will make sure that more people see you because it can see you're putting the effort in. Sending a DM to someone also helps with that growth. So don't think it's wasted time. It's not. It's all part of your growth.
Yeah. Oh, Jo, you've been absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Sorry, I'm freezing because I had to turn the heater off in my office, which is in the garden, because it's too loud.
So look, you've provided listeners with so many golden nuggets of information, and like for brands and PRs out there, I think, this chat has been super insightful and really helpful. I mean, what can I say? You're officially a boss in the PR Like a Boss Hall of Fame. Maybe I should do like a little Hall of Fame somewhere. Before we wrap up, where can listeners find you?
I'm on Instagram at Jo L. Jones. That's my main platform. I've been supposed to have a website, but I've never got around to doing it. And I'm on Substack as Jo L. Jones as well.
And to my listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you found this episode helpful, please don't forget to follow, subscribe, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, or even leave a review. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget, if you're ready to elevate your PR game, check out my e-course, PR Like a Boss. It's packed with actionable tips to help you get noticed and stand out. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, keep PRing like a boss.